Welcome to the Game Masters Book Club, where great fiction becomes your next great tabletop role-playing experience. For the next 4 weeks, we're coming to you from Rising Phoenix Game Con in Milford, Massachusetts. This is the con's 5th year of providing fantastic tabletop role-playing experiences, along with board games, amazing panels, great vendors, and an immersive con experience. Game Masters Book Club was invited to interview both of the guests of honor, Hugo-nominated authors Elizabeth Bear and Scott Lynch, as well as 2 other amazing local authors attending the convention, Trisha Wooldridge and Monoquill Blackgoose. In this episode, we are speaking with Hugo Award-winning author Elizabeth Bear. The Game Masters Book Club chose to speak with her about her steampunk spy thriller Sapphic romance Karen Memory. Joining Elizabeth Bear are 3 Game Masters who are smart as whips and wild and willy to boot: Rob Tremarco, Rowan DeAndrea, and Luanika Miller. Let's get down to John, partners. Now that we have everybody here and our massive audience, thank you once again. So welcome to the Game Masters Book Club. My name is Eric Jackson and I'm the host. And today we are coming to you from Rising Phoenix Game Con 2026. This is really great. I have some fabulous people here to talk about a fabulous book written by a fabulous author who happens to be fabulously here. Yay! Elizabeth Bear is here. Yay!
I didn't know that part. That's awesome.
Yes, that's fantastic. So yes, Elizabeth Bear, we're going to be talking about her book, Karen Memory, today. One of her very many books. So we had to pick one. So that was the way we went with it. So there we go. Oh no,
this is from, it's 11 years old, 2015.
Yeah, it's more than 10 years old. It was honestly, it was there's a whole list, and I went like this and put my finger on it and said, that one looks good, and that's the one we ended up doing. So.
It's called Karen Memory.
Yep.
Karen, K-A-R-E-N, Memory, M-E-M-O-R-Y.
Yep.
I can spell.
Yep. Way to go. You do.
I didn't know there was going to be a quiz.
Quiz.
There is, because I got questions.
This is a book quiz, everybody.
Yeah, welcome.
No.
You ready to go?
Hope everyone read it, Chris.
Yeah, let's go. All right. So before we go too much further, I'm going to have everybody introduce themselves, and we're going to start all the way down at the end. And what we're going to do is we're going to have everybody say their name, and then you can say why you're here at the con. Do you come here all the time? Are you a volunteer? Are you somebody? Do you just enjoy games? Whatever it is. And also, since Karen Memory I would definitely classify Karen Memory as a steampunk sort of book. Tell us about your favorite steampunk gaming event, character, item, thing that you've experienced, however that goes. And when we get all the way back down to me, we'll wrap up with that, and then we'll have the author give us a quick summary of the book, and then after that, we'll talk about game mechanics, and then after that, we'll talk about stuff which we like to call portable, borrow, steal, from the books to put in our campaigns, and then after that, we will talk about other media that works with this particular book that we think would work. So that's the plan. And we'll see if we can stick to it. All right, so going all the way down at the end, Rowan, go ahead, lead us off.
Hi, I'm Rowan DeAndrea. I'm a volunteer and part of the con's extended family. And my go-to steampunk mechanic system is the Iron Kingdoms RPG system. It's the only one I've really played around with anyway, but I have familiarity with its other wargaming aspect as well.
All right, fantastic.
I am Elizabeth Bear. I wrote the book in question, and I no longer run tabletop, mostly because I've discovered that I can either write fiction or I can run fiction, and unfortunately my job requires me to write it. However, I have in the past been quite a fan of Castle Falkenstein and some similar games. So.
Oh, fantastic! Castle Falkenstein.
I know, deep cut, right?
No, oh yeah, no, the game with the cards. Mm-hmm. That's all I always remember it as.
And the beautiful art.
Oh yeah, yes.
And the illegible rules. Outside voice.
Go ahead, Lou.
Hi. So I go by Luanika Miller. I am one part of the team at the Tabletop Journeys podcast. We're a podcast that does gaming stuff, TTRPG stuff. We drop multiple episodes a week. We have a live show. We are all about building up and building out our community in general. We do heavy sci-fi on Tuesdays, what we call Trek Tuesday. Our regular, more fantasy-oriented and other game systems are generally what we do on Fridays and the live show, and we do that about once or twice a month, is whatever comes up. I'm affectionately known as Lou by the Rising Phoenix Con family, which is absolutely fine. I, however, have a much longer first name, so if anybody were to look me up on Facebook, which you're all more than welcome to do, it is quite a bit longer. It happens to be Akasha Batwa, Nuanvalale, Liwanika, Sikopo, Lewis, Miller, Jr. But on Facebook, it's Akasha Batwa, Liwanika, Miller. And the worst you'll do is you'll get my dad instead of me, because he's Akasha Batwa, Liwanika.
All right. Hi, I'm Rob Tremarco, avid gamer. I've been coming to this con since inception. I met the Rising Phoenix folks at TotalCon, and been going to that one for a while as well. An avid tabletop RPG player, runner, collector, you know, since I was a small, giant baby. And my favorite steampunk thing, I mean, I like a lot of the aspects of it, but, you know, in D&D is the apparatus of Quailish, that steam crab underwater device monster from the old edition. That's why is this here? I don't know. I need to have it and be in it. That is sort of like, you know, it's always like a fun element of technology to throw into a game.
Absolutely. Yeah. The giant functioning crab monster.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who doesn't want that?
Yeah, no. And I'm Eric Jackson again. I am the host, and I've been playing since the Pleistocene, various tabletop role-playing games. And I attended a number of steampunk conventions, and so this game, this book was like right up my alley. Super excited about it. I did not wear my top hat, but I probably should have. So anytime you can throw a top hat on top of stuff, it's great. All right. So we've sort of hinted around the idea that this book is steampunk. So Elizabeth, would you be so kind as to give us a quick summary of what the book is?
Well, I mean, you could call it steampunk. You could call it gaslamp fantasy. Yeah, it sort of it edges up to both categories, I would say. It is a 1870s Pacific Northwest adventure, murder mystery, spy thriller that I have described as its leverage with heroic saloon girls fighting vulture capitalists.
Yeah.
That's it.
Boom.
All right. Podcast over. We got it.
Good. Done. Finished. Yeah.
And cut.
Well, that's great. Let's go to the bar.
It's not open yet.
Podcast, everybody.
I checked.
It's everything you need in a book.
I was going to say, did anybody have anything to add to that? I mean, I know we just said like cut good, but
Perfect summary.
Yeah.
I would only add that I have limited a lot of my fiction of late to be very choosy, and I am so glad that you reached out to me to let me read this book, because your descriptions are fantastic.
Thank you.
Like, I was reading it because I study a lot of history, and I do architectural history just as hobbies. Like, I watch a bunch of architectural histories, and just reading it, your grasp of the way Seattle was built and then built again with the drop downs and all of that, like, you don't see that in period pieces often. Like, and the fact that it was in that book was key. Like, just your description of how those things work, on point. Like, that's the kind of thing that I need to have in more books. If you're gonna do a period piece, get that period piece right. And I was like, oh, Northwest, got it. We're in Seattle right now. We're in a version of Seattle. And I just can't say enough about that. Like, that is, as a writer myself who's not at that level yet, that's the kind of thing that I need to read more of so I can learn to do that better. So
I think it has some. I stole some elements of San Francisco as well, but yeah, definitely inspired by Seattle, Portland, San Francisco, and just the gold rush Pacific Northwest, and one of the sort of science fiction, writing science fiction and fantasy and alternate history and steampunk is all about, I think, kind of like formalisms, like these rules you set for yourself. These are we call it world building, right? These are the rules of the universe. And one of the rules I set for myself was that there was no obvious magic in this world, but there was super technology, and also cryptids are real.
Yeah.
So
The almost bought a Bigfoot was I read that was like, oh, we almost got a Bigfoot story out of this. This is great.
there might be a Bigfoot story one of these days.
Oh, that would be fun.
The mention that phoenixes exist.
Yeah.
The Sasquatch. Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
There's also the LGBT
There's a
themes.
yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. There's a Tommy Knocker in the second book. So
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I'm excited for it. I looked into it already.
but yeah, it's a very queer book. It's a super queer book. It's
As a queer person, I loved it.
yay.
Yeah.
Well, as a queer person, thank you.
Yeah, no, it was definitely, that's how I was describing it to people. It was like, oh yeah, it's like a steampunk, sapphic, romance, spy thriller, blah, blah, like just kept going, and that was on there, so really great stuff. So now that we have a general idea of what the book is, we are at a gaming convention, so the next thing would be, of course, that we should talk about if we wanted to do this, if this was the goal, if we wanted to make this book happen in a tabletop role-playing game, what would be the best way to do it? Rob, I'm going to ask you to start off on this one.
Sure.
What do you think?
The themes of, all the best ensembles are found family, right? And I feel this is a lot of representation there. And because it's a crew of people, there's a few games, specifically maybe ones that are aimed toward interaction between the teammates and the hostile or whatever world they're living in. There's a Blades in the Dark game, if you're familiar, very themed toward having playing a group together as a group is very appealing, I think, and fits well for this story. And I could also maybe make an argument for any Dungeon World, Powered by the Apocalypse type game because it has the bonds mechanic, which I think is a pretty prominent theme in the whole book.
Yeah, there's definitely folks who are, I'm doing this for...
Because of this person.
Because of this person, because of my attachment.
Or because I despise that person.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's not just what links you to people, it's also what links you to people that you're maybe not a fan of,
And has mechanical benefits. Like, clearly, it's like,
Right.
I will push through this pain so I can kick that guy's ass.
Exactly.
Or rescue my girlfriend.
Or rescue my
Right.
girlfriend.
Yeah.
However it might be, but that's at least one of them. I have
Or save the cat.
Save the
Save the
cat.
cat.
Yeah, the onions, we're having this fight.
Avenge the cook.
Yeah.
Avenge the cook. Spoilers.
Oh,
Gotta
look,
save the cat.
did we do a spoiler alert? Because this is it.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry. For those of you who haven't, again, hopefully, I forgot. I did say what we were going to do through the whole thing, but yes, we're spoiling the heck out of this. So, ready to go? Next.
Yeah. So I had an initial thought as I was reading through the first couple chapters, and then I changed as I was reading the rest of it. Initially, I was thinking, what a great way to make Eberron more than what the game naturally is, right? Eberron is designed for a noir steampunk aesthetic. You could pick any of the major cities and just run this here. You could build a campaign that is literally street level or slightly below just in any Eberron city. And any of the factions that exist in that game could be mirrored by any of the groups and the different characters and groups of characters, the Order of the Sasquatch and things like that, the elections and all that, so with minor alterations. But Eberron was what I was initially thinking. But when you brought up collaboration, it changed my mind on that a little bit. I actually think Modiphius's 2D20 system would work better. And for those who aren't terribly familiar, Star Trek is one of the games that I run a lot. I'm very familiar with that. I've also run Cohorts Cthulhu, which is like Cthulhu in Roman times, legionary times. And there are a whole different kinds of iterations. So each iteration has the same game mechanics, but you can title your attributes to fit your type of story. So in Star Trek, you have things like command, control, fitness, and reason, insight. You could change those names and have them cover the same kind of grounds, but make it more unique to this world. So it could be much more in a connection, or a much more emotional thing like the Sentience 2D20 game, which is all emotions, like it's anger, it's love, it's hope, it's fear, those types of things. So you can alter that to fit the story you're telling. And the biggest and best part of the core mechanics of the 2D20 system is the assistance factor. There's a meta currency that you use, and there's also the ability to aid your party, your group, in doing something. So if somebody wants to take an action, say shoot a hostile who's attacking one of your fellow saloon girls or what have you, you may not be the person who has the gun, but you can aid them, whether it be by distracting them or yelling at them, and that aid allows you to roll a die. So they are rolling their dice for that thing, and then there's a number of successes you have to reach. As long as they get at least one success, because you're helping them, you get to roll one other die, which can help aid to that success. And I really think that would really strongly reinforce that bond between characters. And that meta currency is a great way to amp up the tension or lower the tension with momentum and threat, or whatever you might call it in those situations. And I thought that would be a perfect expression of this game.
All right.
I love that. I love the idea of being able to select your relevant attributes.
Yes.
That seems super cool.
Yeah.
Totally bespoke character generation, basically.
I actually do that with all of my role-playing games. I rarely, running a game, will dictate, you must give me this kind of role. I want to be collaborative at the table. I want people to say, what do you think works for your character? Now, I may step in. It doesn't make sense for you to use athletics to figure out why a person is telling the truth or a lie. Like, that may not make sense. But somebody could convince me that survival might make sense. And if they've got a good reasoning that matches the narrative of the character that they've brought to the table, heck yeah, that's what we're here for. We're here to tell stories about people doing things that are cool. We're not going to do that by me being a dictator saying, go do this. I'm not going to get on that soapbox, but I'll pass.
All right.
I'll do my best to use
Collaborative
athletics to make you tell the truth.
Working with other people? Come
Why
on.
are you doing push-ups until you tell the truth? That's so weird. Okay, I'll tell you. Ha-ha. It's an athletics roll.
Yeah. Welcome to the gun show.
Yes.
How about now?
That's fantastic.
Oh, shoot. Advantage.
Jeez. All right, Elizabeth, you said you weren't doing as much role-playing right now, but did you have any suggestions for mechanics?
I'm doing some role playing in the sense of playing. I am hopelessly behind on the state of the art in terms of game design, and I haven't been game mastering probably in 15, 20 years. So I am way behind on that. So everything I would suggest would be extremely old school.
Which is okay. You're with now.
Don't worry, we're all old here.
Oh yeah.
I haven't got younger this week.
I think somebody said Blades in the Dark already.
Yeah.
That's a good call.
I think that's a very good call.
Yeah.
Especially because of the justify your existence mechanics built into it. If I can explain a way for this to work, then it can work. But that's also something that Luanika was talking about. So, yeah.
Roan?
I actually had two ideas. One is very similar to Blades in Dark with the ever popular Thirsty Sword Lesbian system by Evil Hat.
Thirsty sword lesbians.
It fits very well on the narrative, both on, of course, the young adult woman, female power, a female community that is such a strong part of that system inherently, but as well as the fact that system's all about your connections to the other players, the other party members, and how your connections with them make yourself stronger, and your dynamic and relationship fits very well with the narrative of Karen Memory. But I also had, for the very much the steampunk aspect, the Iron Kingdoms RPG, and not super popular RPG system, has all that fun, ridiculous, silly steampunk nonsense that people love, as well as the interesting mechanic of how all the characters, the protagonists of the book, have a lot of similarities, but also a lot of unique differences. That system has you pick two classes when you make your characters. So everyone has that sort of social class that can represent the working in the brothel, as well as that secondary class that fits each unique character. Like how Karen has her affinity for horses and riding. You can pick a class that has that affinity, or you can pick a character class with a lot of knowledge, like Priya, or someone who works on the steampunk mechanics and such. All these different classes you can pick that allow you to have everyone feel very similar, that they all work in the same place, but have their own unique traits and aspects and mechanics. That I know players love the unique mechanics. Not everyone feels like they're playing the same character, but have that connection. And again, you have all the ability to do all the and make and work with fun steampunk mechanics, machines, and weapons that people love. So I'm sort of stuck between both those systems for various reasons. Two systems I've experienced with and I love.
Yeah, no, and there's nothing wrong with hacking those two together if that's what you were going to be. That's what you're going to be working with. You guys have covered a decent number of the things that I've hit. Thirsty Sword Lesbians, Blades in the Dark. Those were things that I had considered. As a quick one shot, I would probably use Spirit of the Century. Just a nice fate-based, easy to get things done really quick. I could get that feeling in, but I don't feel like it would. All of the modifications to the Singer sewing machine was just. I'm like that requires something more like Iron Kingdoms, or I was thinking in terms of Girl Genius, the Girl Genius tabletop role-playing game, because they have a whole like mad science invention thing, and I just kept picturing like that, like this continually evolving sewing machine of doom, and I was trying to think what could I do that would let somebody actually make that and work with that, and that was the system that I was looking at there. All right. So we've discussed general mechanics, but now we're going to move on to the thing that is the most popular among all game masters, which is we're going to read a book and then we're going to immediately put that into our own campaign and pretend like we made it up ourselves. And I think I've already sort of said one of the things that I was really interested in. I really love the modified Singer machine. I was absolutely all over that. I am a sucker for any sort of like generally modded piece of equipment in a steampunk thing. I love the octopus ship. I mean, come on, it's got ship with tentacles. I mean, come on, I'm instantly gonna put that in there. So those were mine. I'll throw it all the way back down to the end of the table. Wah! Down to Rowan. Rowan, what would you, if you were gonna pick something from this book and throw it right into a campaign you're running now, what would you steal?
My idea is actually a little bit more abstract in that I really liked the book's ability to give consequence and failure that wasn't the death of the characters. You know, not every action and decision they could make, they were all worried about their own injury and death. They were worried about how it would affect, you know, their own narrative and characters and relationships, and even themselves in ways that wasn't death. Like Karen can only do so much to help, you know, the ones she loved without risking getting kicked out of the brothel, as well as all the other times where they did fail and they got captured and they risked revealing other information about the other parts of their plan. And that all these instances are inspiration that I want to use for my own campaigns, for when my players and their dice do roll poorly, or do make decisions that probably aren't the smartest, so I can give them opportunities to have that feeling of failure, that they messed up, without losing a character. That's something I really like to do and like to improve on with my own campaigns. And I was really inspired by the book with specifics. No one wants to lose their character, and I know my players love when they do fail. Like, they don't mind failure, because failure is just more opportunities to get back up again. And when I offer them risks that aren't injury and death, that they care about, like, you know, getting kicked out of an organization or a group or found family, they're going to make different decisions now, and it's for entirely narrative reasons. So, you know, that's what I really like to, I want to really take away from my own games.
Man,
Yeah.
that's inspiring. Awesome.
Absolutely true that emotional stakes are the most interesting stakes. Whatever your character has to want something, like even as a player, right? Your character has to want something. As a game master, your antagonists have to want something. Otherwise, they just become these people who show up, lurk on a hillside gloweringly, and then vanish. And like, there's no, you need to know what they're doing when the players aren't around. So, and it's the same with the villains in a book. You need to know what they're doing when the players aren't looking at them. And that means that for me, one of the most interesting technologies that steampunk toys that I put into the book was Peter Bantle's mind control machine, because that allows him to it doesn't allow him to completely control anybody, but it allows him to manipulate them. And it's basically disinformation, right? Yeah. Except he can do it directly to your brain. And we all know what it's like living in that world now.
I was going to say, a fairly perceptive
Too
book.
soon.
Too soon. You're just ahead of your time there, for sure.
Herald or Harbinger, she got it right.
Sorry. But for that, I feel like that gives you some interesting things to do as a game master with your player characters, where they're never quite sure who they can trust. And they're never quite sure if they're being influenced as well. So that's fun for me.
Yeah, to have people question their own motives while they're in the middle of the game. That's always that's role playing gold.
And it gets them invested, because they really start to hate those villains. They really start to hate those villains.
He was definitely the smarmy frat guy that I want to punch in the face from sentence one. So fantastic.
My player's favorite type of villain right there.
I would say that for me, I think, again, and I think I'm reiterating to some extent what everybody else has said, this narrative gold here, what we're really mining for is consequences. What we're mining for is, how do you, in a game setting, allow players to fail forward? Dice are going to betray us. We know that. They betray us as GMs, they betray us as players. They betray your friends, probably more than you. At least that's what you're going to tell yourself when you go home at the end of the day. But the reality is that dice will betray the game. And as GMs and as game writers, which we at Tabletop Journeys also do, I didn't mention that earlier, we write game books and adventures as well, is you have to make sure you build into your game system a way to make rolls have consequence that do not stop the story. Different systems do that in many different ways. We try to borrow from all the systems that allow fail forwards. In our games, whether it's a 5e game or not, most of our challenges are built with some form of threshold. If the goal is 15, 5 over, or 14, 5 over is super success. You get more than what you would have expected. Anything between that threshold is going to be a regular success. Similarly, a failure that's 5 under isn't going to be an abject failure. You're going to get a base amount of information, maybe a little wonky, or have some consequence. And we will write that into each of those critical scenes, and then anything under that would be more. That's not a WotC standard, and it's a thing that we picked up from other games, Powered by the Apocalypse, Blades in the Dark, any game that has that fail-forward kind of mechanic. And the way that 2D20 does it is they have a complication. So if you roll a failure or a critical failure, you get a complication. And what that does, your die roll doesn't change the success or failure specifically. What it does is change the narrative. So you can fail a roll, like if you're on a starship and you're like, we have to dodge this asteroid, that doesn't mean your ship blows up. It means your ship got hit, and now you've got a system breach, and maybe you lost some crew members somewhere. Your life is now harder because you failed your roll. But you are still in this adventure. Similarly, if you get that critical failure, now you have a much harder consequence in addition to the ship that has the breach and all those other things. So as a game designer and as a game master, whether that's in something I'm playing or not, I always put that in. And sometimes I just do that. I get lost in the sauce, right? So I'm just doing that on the fly. That's where I think my particular skill comes in, is improving that type of thing.
Fantastic. What a great idea. Go ahead, Rob, ready?
I always like an HQ for a campaign where we're playing in with characters that have a place to come to either do their research, meet each other, talk with each other, interact with each other outside of the game world, not the world, but outside of the sessions even, you know what I mean? Like the world persists because you have a home, right? It's not just like, okay, you get to the dungeon. It was like, what did we do before that? I'm not saying I want to role play having lunch, but I will like to have rules like the brothel, like have a a cast of characters that aren't necessarily the players that kind of makes the world feel more real and influences how you behave outside of combat or outside of the mission, right? That helps build a character and build your team and builds camaraderie, you know? Blades in the Dark does that. There's a whole thing with expanding influence and expanding your territory and also building how secure your base might be. Like, you know, a lot of the superhero games we've played in the past have base rules, you know, certainly physical, like how hard are the walls? Are there drones, the sentry things, or is it a magical base, whatever? Whatever the HQ has that you kind of influence from your character kind of influences the world you play in and, you know, makes your bond stronger as a team. And I feel that is what I would take out of that to put into any game, whether it's steampunk, intrigue, or post-apocalyptic Mad Max sort of thing. You know, you can have that same outline, but the genre is wildly different, like cyberpunk. This would be great for cyberpunk. This, you can port the story without any much changes other than the technology being different, right? Big corporation, big villain, small gang.
Yeah, change the cant slightly,
Yeah.
and you'd be there.
Yeah.
One less tarnation, one more frack.
Yeah, right.
But you have to keep the until I up my chuck.
And we're going to keep the sewing machine.
Married to
Yes. Keeping the sewing machine no matter what.
use that until my kids get angry at me, and then five more times a day.
Then my work here is done. that is my legacy.
That I love that. Like that had me in stitches. I'm like,
I have colorful language was really considered kind of an art form in the Western U.S. in that time period. And I spent so much time like combing through old newspapers and accounts of things people said, or, you know, like things people wrote down because in diaries because they thought it was clever. And it turns out, for example, like a lot of the Doc Holliday's, Val Kilmer's dialogue in Tombstone is actually things Doc Holliday said.
yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
The Huckleberry thing
I'm
was
your
real?
Huckleberry. Yeah.
Well.
And-
that was extraordinarily well researched character.
That's very good.
And one of the other lines that didn't make it into the movie that I thought was absolutely fabulous is apparently after the gunfight around the corner and down the street from the OK Corral, he went back to his rooming house and said to his girlfriend, "Well, I don't know what I'm going to stack up against today." I'm like, wow. Yeah, you know, so this, that being entertaining in speech, being a raconteur was considered a good thing, you know, a character strength. And I really tried to get that in there and give
It's
that to
definitely a
people.
value of Karen's, and it's a nice way. It's also awesome because, of course, you're the writer, and you're writing about the writer who's enjoying the writing and doing the writing thing. So that's always fun. But that brings us to the next part of our discussion, which is, and we'll start with you, Elizabeth. Obviously, for the rest of us, we may have things that resonate with other books that we have read, but you wrote this, so were there books that obviously you just said that the historical stuff directly inspired what you were doing, but were there books that you were like, oh, this was like this, or I wanted to write something like this, or something along those lines?
Oh, definitely. I mean, so I think probably... I'm sorry, I'm having an aphasic moment.
Should we shout random things at you until you remember?
Pickles.
Big pickles, yeah, no, that's not. There's a...
Stag beetle.
Thanks a lot. You're all helping. But there was a... I mean, there's you know, Lonesome Dove and True Grit, and all of that is definitely like stuff that I came in with. And the 1980s, 1990s deconstructive Western, things like, you know, Once Upon a Time in the West and Unforgiven. Yeah, Unforgiven, definitely a big influence. There's also, Scott, what's the comic book? Tim Truman.
Oh, Jonah Hex.
Jonah Hex. Yeah, big Big Jonah Hex influence. Thank you. For those listening at home, my spouse is in the audience, and he is my global brain extension.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, that's how desperate it is. I'm someone else's.
We only go through some form of symbiosis, my friend.
I have outsourced all of my dates and proper nouns to Scott. That's
That's all I
I don't know if
Obviously, I'm not great with the
right
time
now.
thing, and my
Yeah.
wife is back in Connecticut.
Oh no, I'm so sorry.
This is why I'm hurting.
But everybody else, obviously, we read the book, and we've all enjoyed books like this before. Is there a particular book, Rowan, that you were like, yeah, if I were reading after I read this? Obviously, there are more books in the series. So, but after that, what media do you think would really resonate with this book?
I did realize reading this book that I've sort of been slacking my steampunk literature as of late. I didn't quite realize until I was deep into this book and thinking about that. In a non-steampunk option, it reminded me of this book I read a while ago, or a series called the Seven Realms novels. I want to say it was by Cinder Williams Chima, if I'm getting my author's names right. It was a very similar book that focused on one particular city. It was a fantasy city, fantasy setting in this example, but it was all about the dynamics between the different factions within the city, much like this book, and Karen's workplace and all the other brothels and the mayor and such. That dynamic reminded me of what went on in the Seven Realms novels. I have no real strong connection. It's just what it reminded me of in the narrative and the thorough lines throughout Karen memory. Just resonated with that book series, brought it back up to my mind. But I am behind on other steampunk genre apparently, so I need to double down on that after the con.
I'm glad we've pushed you in that direction. That's always the best.
I think if you're looking for more steampunk with Seattle references and sex workers, then Sherry Priest's Bone Shaker, Dreadnought, and Ganymede would probably be
nice
a
choices,
good place
yeah.
to go.
Heard of them.
More zombies.
Or zombie, yeah.
More zombies. Far more, many more zombies.
Steampunk zombies.
There you go. So, oddly, I've not read a lot of steampunk. I played a great deal of steampunk.
Okay.
I watched tons of it. Reading it, I had not really done much of before. I'm sure I have, but actually, I would consider John Carter of Mars a version of steampunk in some of its application, even though it's not the setting specifically. And I read all of those when I was younger. What really resonated with me is it verified and honored all of the little ADHD hobbies I had as a child growing up, reading Western biographies, wasting half of my summer, and it's not wasting, I say that tongue in cheek, at the library doing microfiche work because I was bored. I used to read relentlessly, and I would just run out of things to read. I had read every book in the kids section before I was 7. And so I would just literally just randomly have somebody throw me a topic, and I would just read everything I possibly could on it, research it. And so Western era was kind of that thing. As an adult with a full-time job, family, kids, grandkids, side business, and going to all these conventions, I read a lot less than I would prefer. But I do spend a lot of time doing a lot of shorts and stuff on YouTube for various topics. One of my most recent hobbies is architecture, which is why I really picked up on the Seattle bit, because I had 3 weeks ago just read a whole lot about when Seattle was being reconstructed and how they did that, and the drop downs and the ladders and all of that stuff, and I was just fascinated by it. And this book really just gave me a way to kind of blend that with setting stuff. So writing setting I'm good with narrative. Setting is not my strength, but it really gave me a window as to how to approach setting based on the types of things that I know. And so it just resonated with all the things that I've actually been a part of.
Awesome. I'm glad this timed out perfectly for you. That was the best thing. Rob?
Yeah, I was a big fan of the Arcane series on Netflix, which is a very much class divide. Technology is power, but the lower class either tries to get their hands on it or duplicate it or break it so they can not be under that boot.
The street finds its uses.
Yeah, exactly. And, RoboCop. Dehumanization, how much technology can change you or maybe not if you're strong enough, and how you can use it against your oppressors, controllers.
I'm just going to throw in the Bloody Jack series by L.A. Mayer, which is such a fabulous YA series about young girls doing all these weird things throughout history, and that felt like that definitely resonated here. Also, I already brought up Girl Genius, which anytime you bring up steampunk, one must bring up Girl Genius. It must happen. Also, the Mel Jean Brooks series, the Iron Sea series, or specifically the Iron Duke is the first one that literally has a giant mechanical kraken that attacks people also. And I was like, okay, here we go.
We're all copying Jules Verne.
Yeah, we are. We're all copying Jules Verne. Absolutely on board.
My number one to this day favorite author of all times is Jules Verne.
We're all just trying to evoke that feeling of let's have something like explode out of to have this strange yet wonderful mechanical thing. Chris Granis is in the room, and I know he's mentioned this before on the show, so I'm going to say also Wild Wild West, not necessarily the greatest film in the world, but for visually, just
giant spider in the third act.
Giant spider in the third act.
Can't be improved by a giant spider.
Yeah, it's very, very true. As we will see at this con this year too.
Oh, right.
That's my understanding.
Put that together.
All right,
right.
so
I saw
before
And the original '60s television show was
also
one of
all full of that,
one of the mother texts of
steampunk for sure, for sure. All right, so before we run out of
Can I
time,
just mention
yeah,
one
go
more
ahead.
that I neglected to mention? And it's a weird one because I absolutely love the show, and I hate the fact that it was related to the person involved. But the Nevers on HBO Max was a brilliant steampunk series. It was not so much it wasn't high on the technology bit, but the fantastical elements were there. It ended up being a weird sci-fi thing in the end, but I love that feel of it, and I saw a lot of parallels between the types of characters and the plight that women were forced into and the strength that they showed when they're like, no, not today, not tomorrow, this is where this ends. And I loved that element of it. I got a lot of those vibes from this book. And it's a pity that such a great piece of work had to do with Mr. Whedon. And that's the part that makes it hard to bring up for me. But the actors that were involved in it, the work that they put in and the other people involved was amazing. And I would honestly say if I could find a way to do it without giving that guy a penny, I would recommend watching that.
Yeah. All right, so we are coming towards the end here, so we will start with our author, but then everybody will follow after that. If we have stuff you'd like to promote, because, obviously people will listen to the show, and we want to be sure that they know where to find you and where to find your stuff and where to find more of your stuff. So, Elizabeth?
Right. I am currently and newly Hugo Award nominated for Best Series for my White Space books, which are also very gay. They are STEM lesbians in space in the far future. And it's not a utopia, it's not a dystopia, it's a topia.
Just topia.
It's just a topia.
Okay.
Yeah. And there are 2 sequels to Karen Memory. Stone Mad, which is technically a very short novel. It's just over the line into novel. And with the book that just came out last year, Angel Maker, in which Karen and Priya get jobs as stunt workers on an early motion picture.
Oh, so early Hollywood, fantastic.
Early Hollywood, yeah.
All right. Rowan, do you have anything that you want to tell the folks about?
The only thing I really have is the con we're in right now, the Rising Phoenix Con, Milford, Massachusetts, every April. Come check us out next year.
All right. Wig?
Yeah, so as I said, I'm with Tabletop Journeys. We do a podcast. I'm actually wearing our shirt for those who have the ability to see. It is our Factions book, which is a book we released last September it's basically about factions, the way we like to run factions at our table. There are 9 specific factions that we detail and how they work. Narratively, giving them weight. We have a how-to chapter, which is building up your own factions. It's largely system agnostic, so you can use those concepts in any game system you would like. For the ease of use, we have included stat blocks, which are 5e based, 5.5e based, and the idea there was, since most people know that game, if they play a different system, it'll make it easier for them to iterate those types of characters into whatever game system they're using because they have a baseline. So that's beyond that, it is all system agnostic. Our most recent book is the Bridgewell Chronicles, which we determined that talking about factions wasn't good enough. You needed to display them. They needed to get some legs under them in order to be good. So we wrote a series of adventures, one-pagers, that are designed to have low-level characters. This happens to be 5e based. Interact with the factions. They don't necessarily have to be against or for. They don't necessarily have to join, but each adventure features a different faction that the players can interact with. And the idea is give players a time to see all of the factions, and then they can decide which ones they want to be with or not with, and let the narrative determine whether or not they've made friends or enemies of the factions, because none of our factions are wholly good or wholly evil. They are, with one exception, they all have their own, as you said, goals, needs, wants, and they have their drives, and they have what they will and won't do to get it. And if your player group runs afoul of one of those, they could be the nicest group of guys, but if you run afoul of somebody who's willing to do whatever it takes for their goal, you've made an enemy. And that's the kind of thing that we like to do at the table. To Rowan's point, consequences. So that's what we are writing, and we're working on our second set of adventures with those as a feature in our own setting as well. You can see us online. We talk about it all the time. Drop by, say hi, tell us if you got us on this podcast.
Yeah, that'd be great. Rob, anything?
No, I'm not promoting anything. I have nothing. I'm not involved in anything good. I don't know. I'll promote sandwiches. Sandwiches. They're delicious. Sandwiches.
And we have sandwiches for everybody now that we're all finished with the podcast. So thank you all very much for being here on the show. Thank you for talking to us. It was great. Fantastic. And that was Karen Memory by Elizabeth Bear. Thanks again to Luanika Miller, Rowan DeAndrea, and Rob Tremarco for all their bang-up first-rate speechifying, and a special much obliged to our guest author, Elizabeth Bear. I was plain thunderstruck to be able to chat with such an amazing writer, gamer, and fellow nerd. Thanks again for being on the show. Thanks again to Rising Phoenix GameCon for making this series of interviews possible. Be sure to check out their website at risingphoenixgamecon.com and make sure to leave room in your gaming calendar in late April to attend the con in Milford, Massachusetts. You can find a complete transcript of today's discussion, as well as links to all of our podcasts at k-squareproductions.com/GMBC. You can learn about upcoming episodes on our social media on Blue Sky at gmbookclub.bluesky.social, on Facebook at Game Masters Book Club, on Mastodon at Game Masters Book Club, and on Instagram at Game Masters Book Club. If you've enjoyed the show, please like, subscribe, and comment on our episodes in your chosen podcasting space, and be sure to share those episodes with your gaming community. You've been listening to the Game Masters Book Club, brought to you by me, Eric Jackson, and K-Square Productions. Continued praise and thanks to John Corbett for the podcast artwork and Otis Galloway for our music. Later, gamers, and to paraphrase the great Terry Pratchett, always try to be the place where the falling angel meets the rising ape.